welcome to another episode of All Over Voiceover with Kip VH. And we're doing something fascinating. We are doing a simultaneous podcast. So I'm going to back out and let Love That Rebecca start her podcast. I'm standing back.
Welcome all you beautiful, fabulous, and sexy people who are listening to Love That Voiceover. We are very excited to bring you Kip Vanden Heuvel today, who is an improviser and a fantastic personality. Just fun. A really great guy, an actor. And we're going to talk more about him when I give you his bio. But say hello.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing?
Yeah.
Hello, Love That Voiceover. And on my show, I'm so thrilled to welcome my friend and fellow improv teacher and spectacular voiceover talent with a fascinating story. Her name is Rebecca Haugh. Rebecca, thank you so much for showing up on my show. We made it work.
Yay!
Woohoo!
We made it work. We're doing 2 shows in one. Woohoo! I think it's awesome. It's so much fun.
I do too.
So, love to be part of your show. Love all your sexy listeners too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very sexy listeners. And it's an honor to be talking to your sexy listeners as well. I'm very excited.
So, yeah, I was just going to say, for all your sexy listeners and mine who don't know you so well, I want to give a little bit of your bio. Is that cool? Can we do that?
Please.
Just on the top here?
Of
all
course.
right. So Kip is an American actor, and so you do on camera as well as voiceover, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And we're going to get into more of that. But you're the full deal. You go to auditions as well as you send in auditions. You're an actor, director, and teacher of improvisational comedy and voiceover.
Yes.
And that's really how we got connected. Kip is hosting his show, which you nicknamed Sovas, which, you know, you have to remind me what that stands for.
Oh, so let's see. So the show is, my show is called All Over Voiceover. Sovas
All Over Voiceover
is the Society of Voiceover Artists. Society of Voiceovers.
That's
whatever.
right.
That. So like the award
yeah.
show. And All Over Voiceover was nominated for Best Voiceover Podcast from that.
Okay. Rightly so. Fantastic. So Kip hosts his show, and I'm the host of my show, Love That Voiceover. I didn't submit for nomination, so I was not nominated, but that's okay. And you go by Kip VH on the show, so that's fun.
Yep.
That makes me just go, I just want to go Kip Vroom. I don't know why. And
I find people have a hard time sorting out Vanden Heuvel, so VH makes it easier, and it makes the web address and email shorter. We were talking about offline about names and that kind of stuff.
Right, yeah. Well, VH is kind of cool. I mean, it's like V8. It's something that you can remember, and it reminds me, I don't know why, it makes me think of a car engine.
Yes. Well, like a V8
like
engine.
Boom,
so
you know. Like a V8, the engine, instead of the drink, the engine. Yeah, that's it. So that's cool. You've had notable film appearances, including Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Nightcrawler, La La Land, Behind the Candelabra, and as Liberace, Matt Damon's half-brother Wayne. Wow. So you're best known for your work in, this is VO work, right, in BioShock Infinite?
Yes.
Yeah. As Zachary Hale Comstock. Skavik in Star Wars. Did I say that right? Skavik?
Yep. Skavik.
And that was Star Wars The Old Republic. And Walter in Telltales. This is so awesome. The Walking Dead. I just love zombie stuff. I'm not watching it and playing it so much anymore, but I was a zombie fan from, long time ago. So, and on the Netflix series Richie Rich. Oh yeah, yes. Right on.
Yeah, I played the incompetent father on Richie Rich, and
that's so awesome.
It was a blast. We did 2 seasons, and I get that's mostly where most of my recognition on the street comes from. Is like kids walking with their parents will make eye contact with me and try to put it together. But then they're like, "Mommy, Daddy," and they're like, "Quiet, let's keep walking." So it's a trip. Man. I love it.
Is the Netflix series your voice only? Is that voiceover?
Nope, I'm on camera.
You're on camera.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool. That is so cool.
Series regular on the show, so like.
Yeah, I figured if they were looking at you, they weren't looking at you because you were talking. They were just seeing your face. But I wanted to clarify that because You're also a very, very talented voice actor and mimic, if that's what you want to call it. There's a special name that, some people have told me is more the correct way to say it these days. Imposter? No, that's not it. That's a word I'm looking for.
You're an imposter. You're an imposter.
You're one of those imposters. You like copy other people.
Right.
Yeah, but what I love about you too is that you're an alumni of the Second City in Detroit.
Yeah.
And Second City Cleveland, main stage.
That's
All right. That is so awesome. And I knew about you because of your podcast. And then you contacted me because of my podcast. Right. And then we both shared information. And then like a year later, you're helping me in the improv school thing that I'm doing by teaching. It's so great.
It's the most fun, that class,
it's so
by
much
the way.
Fun.
I mean, I really hope that, that not only are the regular folks who are taking the class are getting a lot out of it and that it's affecting their reads and stuff, but just the social aspect of it, I really, really enjoy. And, we talked about this before many times about how it's such a lonely kind of career. I mean, we're both in our booths right now. And, aside from a postage stamp window on a screen, and it's still, you still have that connection. And it's important to proactively seek out other people and make connections. And if improv is that way, or poetry reading, or I don't know, poetry, but whatever, whatever it is that helps bring people together.
Well, what's really cool about our stuff is that we're all working on our craft, right? Yeah. So we have the professional level of interest that we're all, really digging it. Plus, we're all really having fun.
Yeah.
We're really having fun. And to me, that's why what it does is you're having social, you're having fun. And that makes it sound like, okay, but why do I want to pay for something like that? Well, you pay for it because you're building skills while you're doing all the rest.
Right.
So I just wanted to throw it out there because the reason why I started that whole thing is because I am remote. I'm really remote. So I can't go to a class that's even an hour away. I mean, when I have a chance and there is a class within an hour, I will sign up and I will pay and I will go.
Yeah.
But it's so rare. Like every couple of years, I'm so remote. So because of that, I said, I'm going to search online to see where people are doing this, right? Because there's got to be stuff going on, right?
Right.
There's Second City, there's IO, there's blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And really, there's nothing. Zero.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, because there's a mentality out there in the improv world of the Second Cities and all that. And I've come across it with individuals too that I've asked to come teach, where they're like, just so people that your listeners know, Love That Improv VO does everything in audio only, majority. The purpose is to work out in audio only because when we're working in voiceover, we're working in an audio space. So the idea is, even though we might be able to see each other on Skype or Zoom or something, when we do, the idea is we're focusing on the audio aspect. We're not doing it on stage. We're not interacting physically that way.
Right.
And tons of people, Kiff, totally didn't think that would work. Didn't like the idea, wouldn't want to participate because they just like the other way. But what really blew my mind was that they just thought it was impossible, that it wouldn't work. A lot of people.
I think I would have been in that camp without the experience. I'd been part of a voiceover workout group at a studio here in town that Fred Tatasciore invited me to, and then we went and just met the greatest people. And we had puppeteers and writers from some DreamWorks shows, and like just everybody coming together just to play and play. Improvise strictly for microphone. And it really blew my mind because I've always been such an object work environment, we're creating mime and pantomime and all that other kind of stuff. And there's place for that, but I think the allowance of technology and the allowance, and since improv is so so dependent on listening. I feel like this is a really great raw place to explore.
Oh, cool.
What we these skill sets and stuff. And
right.
I mean, it's just been the greatest to teach with you and to have the how can people, is it open? Like how can people who are like, I'm hungry for exactly what you're describing, how can people find the classes that you're running?
Oh, thanks. Love that improv because it's LoveThatImprovVO.com, or just look up Improv VO or VO Improv. Any of those go to the same website.
Great.
And a lot of it is geared towards people who are in voiceover already and are looking to, add to their skill set or practice a skill that they already have and get less rusty or get more skilled. And if you already know kind of what you want, there's a page there that just lists what we offer. The front page is more of an explanation of what we're doing, and then there's a workouts and it tells you everything that we do, which is what Kif is running. Is he's leading the Thursday advanced workouts, and we have classes coming up, and we have classes a few times a year that are on different topics. So some are applying it to commercial voiceover. It's a whole bunch of things, but the website is LoveThatImprovVO.com.
Love that.
And there's a contact. Yeah, at LoveThatImprovVO.com. And people can use the contact page if they have specific questions so they can save time and directly ask. Yeah.
How did you, well, let me back up because you shared my bio and thank you. And that's, all that information is mostly true. It's all true. It's all true. But I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to hear your bio.
I know.
It's like, oh yeah, I guess I did.
It's like the first time you hear your voice recording played back.
Right.
That's so weird.
That's such a surreal thing. When was the first time you started?
When I was a kid.
VO? You were a kid?
Well, I got into VO. No, I was playing with the voice recorder when I was, the tape recorder when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I am not a digital person. I started in analog.
Yeah, me too.
And and in voiceover, I was in marketing in a corporate in the cable company in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I was doing. They have a lot of the cable companies have a local studio that is part of their agreement with the city to provide cable. They'll give this free access.
Okay.
And so I was messing around there because my degree is radio and television broadcasting. And I was like, oh, yeah, creative stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just started doing acting and hosting and different things on the side because that's part of my blood since I was a kid. And eventually, with all the corporate takeovers in the cable industry, I found an opportunity in a restructuring where they wanted me to stay, but they had to lay everybody off and then rehire them in the new role and the new at the new pay and all that stuff and the new organization. And I said, yeah, thanks. Bye. And I had 6 months pay to walk away with, and I just started doing acting. I'd already been studying for a year because we knew about the changes well in advance.
Okay.
So for a year, I was studying voiceover at the Voice Factory in San Francisco. And I was focused on that. And it was great because the first audition I got invited to from the Voice Factory, which doesn't exist anymore, I'm so sad to say, after I finished, I felt like I graduated because I got my demo done. I got invited by the owner to come to a nice audition where this is when you used to drive to the audition. You didn't actually go there. This was 2001. And I booked it. It was the first audition she invited me to, and I booked it. And I just remember everything about that audition and the job. I was so nervous. Oh my God, I was so nervous. It wasn't a commercial gig. It was a corporate narration gig.
Uh-huh.
But I was very happy. And because I was doing hosting on a local access TV show for the Oakland Raiders, which was getting a lot of viewership because Oakland Raiders were really, they're a big, giant football team.
Yeah. So you were hosting a weekly Raiders show. What was the nature of the show?
I think it was only monthly. It was called Raider Fan TV, and it was a publication that went with a newspaper. And one of my best friends was one of the co-producers of the TV show. He was one of the producers at the local access studio, and he really liked my work as a host because I'd been doing a pet shelter show before that.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, because I love animals and helping animals. So yeah, so what happened was they invited me to do that, and that was getting me a lot of positive feedback for my work as a host, which then encouraged me to do on-camera work. So because in San Francisco Bay Area, there's a lot of industrial work on camera.
Yeah.
Mostly that was all it was. And so I started working on camera up there. And then I decided to go for it down in LA after that. But my real love has always been voiceover. That was how I started. That's really after some internal. And it was harder because, I'm not 20-something and being in LA, doing what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a host, like on E! Entertainment and all that. You have to be young and skinny and super hot. They want you to be really sexy. Mm-hmm. And, some people have called me that on occasions, but it's not like I'm always thought of that way. And that was the competition. So it was just too much. And I just didn't want to be focused on my physical so much. I just wanted to act. Yeah. Which voiceover offered. So that's how so 2009 home studio focused on just voiceover full time. Full time in a year took a little while because of, you need to get back into it, because I'd been scattered a little bit. So I was just like narrowing it all down and plowing ahead. And then everything started working really well.
That's great. It's interesting thing. And the voiceover industry has changed so much over the past, all industries, I guess, have changed so much over the past 15, 20 years, but it feels like with the digital revolution and certainly the internet and all the things, and something people that everyone who's listening is acutely aware of, but like coming up in that time and your ability and necessity of adapting to it, embracing emerging technologies, embracing new recording ideas, and,
God, that was hard.
Oh, man. It's brutal.
But luckily, I think I just have some technical acuity, so I adjust. I don't try to be really a Mr. Smarty Pants or Mrs. Smarty Pants engineer. I just try to get the job done and be very competent and deliver what my clients want.
Right. As long as I know...
I'm not trying to be a musician.
Right. Yeah. I know what their minimum system requirement is. I communicate that. And like if they're asking for any kind of posting services or whatever, I'm like... You're asking the wrong person for that. I can give you a nice raw 48,
exactly.
WAV file.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got the music track, I can lay it down and adjust it for a balance you'll enjoy, that I enjoy. That's about as far as it gets.
What is the lion's share of the type of work I see? Like I'm looking at your website bio to reciprocate.
Damn it.
Because it says that you studied your voice. You said all that. Oh, the Sanford Meisner Center in Hollywood. That's where you were studying acting. Were you studying VO stuff there as well, or you're
no?
How did that
just acting?
How do you marry the experience of what you learned there and your acting instincts to the variety of work that you do? Would you classify yourself primarily as a commercial voice actor or more industrial or a combination? What do you do?
I'm a real combo, but I don't do yet. I never say never. I don't yet do animation or games. I've done a couple of things, but nothing that I would ever say that that's my thing. My majority is commercial. And then I would say that's a mix in terms of income and activity. It's a mix with primary money is commercials and e-learning. And then after that, corporate narration, which I bundle in explainers because I do a lot of those.
How would you define an explainer? What's an explainer?
Those little, it's like a corporate narration, but it's more like, this is our company and here's what we do and blah, blah, blah. Or I have a demo that's even about that, but it's not on my website anymore. I took that one. I only put up 2 right now. But, here's Joe. Joe works at da-da-da-da-da, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, a slice of life for whatever it is that they're trying to convey.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. It's what those like onboarding videos or like here's some broad view stuff before we do a deep dive. You know, I remember doing one of those for
it's
the
a 1 minute, 1 to 2 minute snapshot. Even I have an explainer. Let's say it's the same thing I have on my LoveThatImprovVO.com. I have a video up there that's basically an explainer about what Love That Improv VO is. Who it's for. So that's why they call it explainers, because usually it's explaining some kind of concept that's more helpful with video than with the printed text on a website.
Got you. I got you.
Yeah.
So how?
And usually it's online somewhere. So
that's super cool.
Not broadcast is what I mean. You know.
I love the variety of ways that we get to practice our craft. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different ways of doing it, and how all the skill set leading up to it, both the acting classes, improv, all those things, how necessary it is, and how you might not think that you need to employ some, Meisner technique or Spolin-esque, exercise. Like, wow, this particular challenge, I don't know. I'm creating a hypothetical challenge, but this hypothetical
or this particular job,
right?
Audition,
exactly.
Real things
really requires me to tap into this experience, and it's going to give me an edge that another person might not rely on.
I totally believe. Yeah, and it also gives you a way to have that. The cliche of saying it's in your toolkit. It's a tool you can pull out, or it's the color that you're going to use when you paint. You're going to select the red instead of the blue. You can do that on the fly much more easily if you're practicing on a regular basis and you've had these experiences and you keep educating yourself and you keep taking different classes from different people and have a regular rhythm of work, because then you feel the flexibility of, I was just doing some auditions and it was one of those, it was kind of like that, what's that new term for a lot of corporate narration? They call it, like a grandeur. It's like, gosh, I can't totally. And I just booked one the other day. It was my first one because these things some of these things, they're just like right outside my grip. So I keep focusing on them to try to understand.
Yeah.
It's like a mantra for the company or something like that. I don't know how to describe it. And I was just doing one, and I was like doing it in this kind of style that is the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, God, that just doesn't feel right for this copy, you know? And by playing an improv and by, reading my acting books and going over notes and rethinking things, not overthinking. I don't mean that. I took a separate approach and I shook it off. That's what I have to do for myself. I have to kind of, back up from the mic, shake, and come in real. And I, in my own way, and this is what I'm always talking about, I reimagine everything and who's there. And it all happens very intuitively. I don't think about it. I don't write it down. But I could probably tell you about it afterwards, after the moment.
Yeah.
And in this case, I was more sitting with a friend, sitting like at a cafe where you're at a bistro, kind of a high table. Yeah. You're not at a bar. You're just at a high table. You got a high, you're up on your feet are off the floor. And so I can kind of kick my feet. I get this sensation when I'm more relaxed that way.
Yeah.
And I did the copy that way, and I was much happier with it. And that was painting with a different color or choosing a different tool,
Yeah.
But for me, all the training blends together. And for me, improv actually made the bigger difference. Meisner taught me huge things, deeper things, I would say, than improv does. But improv gives me a tool to access that more readily.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it differently than that, because that's how it works for me.
We were talking, I taught a workshop last night. And I had a mix of people in the room, some who are very experienced improvisers who are trying to get more into voiceover, and then a couple very experienced voiceover people who are just dying for more improv experience and have and kind of discussing what is the nature of improv in that. And I was ranting, but I think ultimately the point that I really made was like improv isn't writing. everyone thinks that for comedy in particular, improv has been sort of reappropriated for comedy performance. And at the Second City, certainly, our whole thrust is use improv and the tools and the games of improvisation to write. So like at Second City, one of the things that separates Second City from, say, I.O. is that our shows on the main stage, resident companies, are completely written. But we've just used improv to generate the ideas, to fill them, to flush them out, to explore. So we'll maybe write more satire into it, that kind of stuff. And I feel like in voiceover, and in particular with working with commercial copy, working with animation and game copy, working with industrial copy, that when they're asking for improvisers, they're not necessarily asking for someone to rewrite their copy. I had Paul Rugg on my show.
I agree.
I had Paul Rugg, who's wonderful voiceover talent, that he wrote for the Animaniacs, and he's been around for a little while. And he said one of the things that he looks for when he sees a copy to read is the asterisks in the margin, and that means that this is a revision. And when you take that to heart, you realize that's a revision. These guys wrote it, and then they got notes, and then they changed those jokes. They don't expect a voiceover actor to walk in with no background, no history, no experience, maybe an improv class or two, look at that copy and go, I can make those jokes better. They want you to use your improv skills to fill it with life, to to listen and to react and to build off of.
Hallelujah! Right? Yes.
Right?
I totally agree.
So I feel like...
And improv is just the way to jump in there and make it real for you. That's how it works for me.
Yes.
But you're not, you might improvise an open to walk into it, a running start, but it's way better when you've got an improv imagination happening, I think.
That's right.
It's not just giving yourself a lead in. Also, what it helps you do is shift and find nuance. And you might go, well, that's not written in the copy usually.
Right.
Now, sometimes there's a laugh, in the parentheses or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? The ad libs come from playing as well.
100%. And like what you just said about like using those tools when you hit a roadblock. You do a read and you feel like, this read is stale, or this read sounds like a read I've done 1,000 times before, and I feel like it's just going to get discarded. What is going to make this read, not even what's it going to book, but what am I feel good about sending? Do I feel like if I've got a docket of like 6 auditions that I've got to do in a morning, how do I make sure that number 4 is just as important and personal and connected to my artistry, even if it's, man number 2 in a radio demo? What am I doing to verify and justify to my agents to keep me on their roster, but justify someone to listen to it if I'm kind of half-assing, a read? I feel like...
Right, yeah, you're not going to turn it into like the factory approach. Right?
Exactly. Here's a series of 3.
You wanna,
oh my God.
That makes... I know, and it makes your life more exciting when you get to do that, when you take that time, I think, doesn't it?
I totally agree.
I'm like, I nailed that audition, for in that moment, for how I was and whatever, because it's all about that too in the now.
Right.
You just feel like I totally nailed it. You may not book it, even if you believe you nailed it for you, because they may associate your voice to somebody that they hate. That's one of the old ways of thinking, You can't control that. You can only deliver the best that you can deliver.
That's right.
And that's what all of the acting tools help you do. But I think that's really interesting. I wonder in your class, did they talk about whether voiceover people are actors or not? Because has that ever come up in your improv to voiceover thing? Because I don't know how the improvisers think about it. They might be in a headset of they're already kind of acting. Because a lot of voiceover people think, why do I need to be an actor? You know? I just need to read stuff.
That's interesting. I'll say this, like being in the markets that I've been in and where I've taught improv specifically and worked professionally as an actor, from Detroit to Cleveland to Chicago to here in Los Angeles, I've always had people in the classes who would either, at least in Chicago and Los Angeles, who really identified themselves as actively searching or actively seeking performance work. Whereas in Detroit and in Cleveland, often I'd have people, I would say maybe a third of the class was in that boat. But for the most part, most of them were like, you know what? Look, I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for 25 years. My life is flat and, or my life is robust, but I think I would really love to get to know some new people. And then teams are formed out of that. You know, they fall in love with the art form and then they become it. I think with the voiceover professional, the announcer who doesn't act so much, that's in my personal experience. I think given regionally where I'm working, that kind of a personality is a little bit more of a rarity. The people who come into the classes,
because you're in Los Angeles,
most of the people come into the class that I teach are like, what was it like to do that video game, and how can I get into video games and animation? And that's always kind of the focus. And generally when I teach the VO class, specifically at Second City, my approach is like, we're going to start with commercial, because not only does commercial keep the lights on, but I also want to reiterate the fact that the skill set that you use as a commercial actor is definitely just as important in your animation, your character reads, and that you'll do character in those things, and that you need to understand the basic language of voiceover, and you'll find that language in commercial a lot more than you will, I think, in theatrical, sort of work.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. In fact, there's a really good actor who does on camera as well as voiceover. And he's trying to increase his voiceover and have more focus on that as time passes. So he's somebody that I met because he took the class, and he took another class, but months apart. These are just classes, not workouts, and so nothing's steady. And he recently took a class, and right after that, with the material that he learned, he booked something that he was really happy about because it was different for him. Yeah. And he said it really helped him to do the idea of improvising and creating an environment of the space of whatever it was that he was trying to book. And he ended up booking it, and he really feels that improv helps him as an actor, and he's studied, he's done on-camera work. I don't know how much TV and how much theater personally, because I can't think of that right now, but sure. I think improv is an amazing, it's not just a tool.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it exactly. It's not just a skill. It's kind of like a mentality. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I know that Tina Fey and Amy Poehler have said, or maybe it was just Amy that said this, but it's like, come to the church of improv, something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but it becomes something like another woman who just started doing stuff. She's like, this is like, what's a bad drug you can get addicted to? Heroin.
Yeah, exactly.
She called it like heroin. And I'm like, well, it's a good habit, addicted.
That's right.
There's no physical.
How did you come to improv? Was it in San Francisco, or was it through?
Yes.
It was.
First of all, I was dating somebody at the time who was doing stand-up comedy.
Uh-huh.
So he was doing all that stuff, and I was like, wow, I just love this, but I have no courage to do that. And I don't know if you've heard of BATS, BATS, but it's called Bay Area Theater Sports, and they're in more places, but they had in the San Francisco, this location that's popping out of my brain right now. It's been a while. I haven't been there. It's a certain location where there's a lot of different things, activities that can happen, community activities.
Okay.
And they were teaching there for many, many years. So I started there, and then I kept going. And when I went to LA, I actually was doing live dinner theater.
Oh,
which was one of my dreams, because when I was in corporate America, we got taken to a live dinner theater event. Yeah. And I wanted to get up from the table and go join the people that were doing the the live dinner theater because I was like, God, this is really so cool. How do they get paid to do that?
Yeah.
Wow. It wasn't like a wedding thing. It was a murder mystery dinner theater.
Oh man.
So when I went to LA, that's what I sought out. I sought out live dinner theater, and I booked a small time, murder mystery dinner theaters. Nothing giant, but it was really, really fun. And we did it many times at this Italian restaurant. And it was so much fun. And the actors were just a blast to be with, And sometimes somebody would screw up a line, and you're live, you're in front of other people.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of adjust. And all of those experiences are tremendous.
I agree.
Just tremendous. And so you and you improv the interactions with all the people that are there. And you have this plot line in your head. So you already know, the general gist of things. And you have specific lines you do need to say to help the other actors know what their turn is.
Right.
But it was just a blast. And then I did a bigger show. There's a really famous Tony and Tina's wedding.
Yes.
That's a show. I didn't do that. I did the gay version of it. It was called Joni and Gina's wedding.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
I was one of the mother-in-laws or mother-in-laws to be. I was one of the mothers of the bride. And we did that so many nights, and you just get to be friends with the cast. Wonderful family situation. I did some theatrical up in the San Francisco Bay Area, but just community theater stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just that's the thing that really said for me, this is just I got to keep getting it. I got to keep getting it.
Yeah.
But I was also taking the solid acting classes and I've taken some classes with IO too.
Oh, great.
But then, I just started getting all the books and focusing on that. And then I had to start the online thing,
Yeah.
So when I first started the online thing, it was just, let's all come together because I just want to be with you and let's do this.
Right.
It was really, really informal. And now it's a little bit more formal, but it's really, really still fun.
It's awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. I had done a wacky Italian comedy wedding. That was actually the name. Tony and Maria's Wacky Italian Comedy Wedding.
Okay.
In Detroit.
Okay.
And I was swing, so I played the priest and I played the best man and I played the groom and it was the most fun. And you just build these relationships with these people as you're goofing off and I don't know, it was so much fun.
And you're making people laugh and they're eating around you. And what happens, don't you think, is when you're having those relationships with people as time passes. First, in the beginning, you're all more on script and all that. But then things start to shake and shimmy a little bit later on when the cast is really melded, right?
Yeah.
And then it becomes really, really exciting, especially what happens during, we had a couple of breaks, one or two, I can't remember, where it's the opening where you're just mingling with people. There's no show yet. They're just arriving. And so you're acting like the family who's part of the wedding party.
Right.
Or wedding family and guests. And you're just talking to people and welcoming them and finding out and you're talking about the other characters,
Right.
And then there's another break. There's a dance part. There's a dance number where you're doing wedding dances, and you're bringing people up from the tables. I mean, I just loved all that stuff. I loved it. And when you're doing that, sometimes after the melding has occurred with all the people in the cast, then you just start messing around with each other.
Yeah. It's the greatest.
It's fun.
It's what I hoped that being an adult doing this work,
I love it. I love it.
You just hope that it would be like that, and then it is, and you build these relationships with people, and it's just terrific, and
it really, really is.
Yeah, and that it's everywhere too. That I was talking with a
that's true.
It truly is. If you want to do this stuff, if you want to do this work, you don't have to come to Los Angeles to do it. You can go make these relationships. You can play in your community, and if it doesn't exist in your community, like you did with Love That Improv VO, you start it.
That's right.
Chances are there's someone in your community who wants this too, and all it takes is making some mistakes and some paint and some flats and a relationship with a restaurant.
A little chutzpah or whatever.
Right. Exactly. I didn't know how to do a podcast when I started doing it. I just asked a friend to a studio and we did it. And, I feel like that's kind of how I started in voiceover too. I didn't really know. There wasn't the resources that exist now. And,
God.
So like.
Even when I started, I don't know, when did you start? When did you start voiceover?
I started in earnest. My first paycheck from doing a VO thing was in 1996. And I did,
awesome.
I was doing on-hold messaging in Toledo, Ohio for a company called
Oh my
Business
God,
Voice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's where I got started.
People don't know, but that's where my dad's from, so that's fun. Yeah, Kiff and I talked about this before we started recording, or maybe he got recorded. And
I got it recorded, so I'll butt that in there. But it was, I got started in earnest. I got union in Detroit. It's a union town, doing industrials and stuff, and doing
that's great.
Doing explainers, and then doing literally like one union gig I had. I spent 3 days at a test track as a SAG driver, and I didn't say a word, but I operated the car, and they were like, "We are recording the audio of every one of these cars, so we need to hear you driving by at 20 miles an hour, drive by at 30. We need to hear a drift, like all this other stuff." So I drove.
Wow.
And that was featured as an interactive training piece. So
wow.
You just can't underestimate, but what just kicking the tires of the thing can be,
Yeah, you're right. And if you're passionate about it, that will guide you a lot.
Yes.
Because I think everything that I've taken on like that, and I'm sure you're the same way, there's this passion driving you. It's giving you the energy you need to keep it going, So, Kiff, I want to ask you a couple of questions that are famous in my podcast. Famous, yeah, whatever. It's a bunch of questions that I just throw a few at you.
Okay.
Because did you ever watch the Actors Studio and the interviews with the and
James
at
Lipton.
the end he always James Lipton, he always pulls out his little crazy questions from Proust.
Yes.
And it's the same thing. I call it the Rorschach questions round. But I'm going to throw some questions at you.
All right.
And you're going to roll with me, right?
I'm going to roll with you.
So I'm going to start with some easy ones, and then we'll get more in-depth answers. Some of these are just one-word things. So what's your current favorite color?
Blue. Navy blue.
Nice.
Navy blue.
Navy blue. Okay, great.
Dark blue, like Steve McQueen blue on a sweater, a blue turtleneck sweater like he wears in Bullet.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. What is your favorite beverage, cocktail? Doesn't have to be alcoholic, but if it is, you can.
Well, my favorite alcoholic one is called an Irish Pervert, and it is. It is.
You are from Ohio.
Parts,
no, I'm just kidding.
It's equal parts Bushmills and Baileys.
Oh my God! I can't even believe you can drink that.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I don't think I can drink it anymore because I have lactose issues. But if I take a lactate before, I can have it.
There
Delicious
you go.
drink.
And non-alcoholic beverage? Did you have that in mind?
Have to be McDonald's iced coffee.
Wow.
No cream, no sugar.
Interesting. Sweet.
Yeah. George Whittam got me to join the Whole Life Challenge, and I gave up sugar with that, and it helped immensely, and now I love black coffee.
Oh, God, I should try to do that. I think it's more like an addiction with the sugar. I had milk. I gave up the milk because
we're starting a Whole Life Challenge tomorrow, and if you want to get in on our group,
too soon. No, too soon. No,
there's no such thing as too soon.
I know,
All right?
right?
Next time, I'll hound you about it.
Next time, hound me. Yeah. All right, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food.
What's your favorite thing to eat? Let's just say, what's your favorite thing to eat?
Oh, man. I love a good lasagna. Yeah. Really good lasagna. Yeah. Warm, gooey.
With meat or without
with
meat?
Do you have? I'm a carnivore.
With meat. You're a meat eater. Okay, carnivore. All right, good. Good to know. All right, a little more introspective.
Okay.
Growing up, when you were a child, what was the name of your best friend?
Yogi Bear.
Whoa, really?
Mm-hmm. I had a lot of
Wow.
friends, but I would be hard-pressed to say I had a best friend growing up, and cartoons carried that freight for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is it that, so give us something a little bit more about the memory. Something that popped in your head, because your face changed.
Friends?
I mean, if we're on Skype right now, everybody, and I saw Kif's face really go deep and get soft and kind of nostalgic.
I was bullied from kindergarten to probably high school. And
oh no!
Oh yeah, just for being being a weird kid who liked cartoons, and I was a mimic.
Oh man!
And optimistic and hopeful. I had a gang of friends. We hung out, but I mean, none of them gave me any. Like, you realize how much your friends have your back when you get beat up while you're sledding. And they're all standing on top of a hill watching it happen.
Oh my God,
whatever
so
friends.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It made me who I am. Whatever friends they are. That was the first time I remember really cussing, like walking back home after that. Like, it was crazy. So I think through all that, my constants were, obviously, I mean, I'm close with my brothers and stuff, but I would say, like, if I had to talk about, who was most consistently present, it was popular culture and the cartoon characters that I enjoyed. And Yogi Bear was that for me. He was probably the one, even to this day, I would love to voice him. That would be like top of the mountain.
What was his favorite line?
I'm
Picnic a
smarter
basket?
than the average bear? Hey! It's like a half
That's
dynamite,
right, boo-boo.
half scooter. Hey, boob.
Yeah. I loved him too. And Boo Boo.
Boo Boo. I don't think the ranger's going to like that, Yogi. Boo Boo, come on.
Yes, he was very flamboyant,
he's like
actually.
A Phil Silvers.
You remind me.
Mischievous.
Yeah. Yes.
Kind of a prick.
Yes.
I love him.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, now that we're on Yogi Bear in a way, so what one thing now in your life and your current age, what one thing can bring you, if possible, pure joy? His eyes just rolled in his head.
Yeah. There's a couple things, but the one that gives me a spring in my step is whenever I pull up to the Warner Brothers lot and roll down my window and hand them my driver's license, and they give me a little piece of cardboard and they say, "You know where you're going?" And I go, "Yes, I do." And then I go and park. That
is beautiful.
That's to the kid in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who loves Yogi Bear and doesn't know what he's going to be able to do with his life and wants to do that, to be able to pay that kid back with that experience with any kind of regularity is it's the greatest feeling in the world.
You're going to make me cry. I love it. Thank you so much. Wow. I like it. I'm ending on that.
That's great.
On that. That was really, really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Well, let me throw those. Have anyone ever asked you those questions?
I doubt it.
On your show? Okay, well, you're my guest too.
No, because on my show I don't answer the questions. I only ask them.
Oh, I know. Well, that's what makes today so much different. So I'll do an abridged version of it. So what's your favorite color?
All right. Usually green. Many shades of green.
Awesome.
Dark, light, neon.
Have you heard Ken Nordine's poem about green?
No, I don't even know who Ken Nordine is.
All right. Ken Nordine created word jazz. Okay?
I already like it. I already have chills.
Oh, dude. He did an album called Colors. And one of my favorite pieces that he did is called Green. It's hilarious and amazing. And someone made an animated YouTube video with text animated to his thing on it. It's so great. It's so great. So I'll send you that, but it's on YouTube. I'll find let's find the link and send it. But Ken Nordine Green. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I just looked him up on the computer.
Perfect.
Because I got chills when you told me that. And when you said jazz poetry or whatever you said.
Word jazz. Word jazz.
Wow. Word jazz. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, here it is. Green, Ken Nordine, album Colors.
That's it.
Okay, I won't read the lyrics to anybody. They'll have to find it on their own. And I'll deliciously enjoy it after this.
What's your favorite thing to eat?
Oh, gosh. Well, one of my absolute lifelong favorite things to eat is homemade guacamole.
Oh,
really
man.
Spicy.
That's fantastic. Final question. Tell me the name of your childhood friend.
Leslie. Leslie Zoll.
Leslie Zoll.
Zoll. And we were just best friends. And the story I can tell you, we just always hung out. We went on little trips with the parents. Mostly she came with my family because I guess her family didn't go too many places. I don't remember. I'd go to her house a lot. We went to each other's houses. But my parents still remember to this day, and this is when I was, in 7th grade. 7th grade? Yeah, 7th and 8th grade. 7th and 8th grade. Because that was in Pennsylvania. We would just start laughing, and we could make each other laugh. And we would get into the laughs where we would just start laughing at how the other person was laughing. I mean, it was just this crazy fun, little kid thing. And Leslie Zoll and laughing. We just had so much fun. She was my best friend because it was always just all good. It was always all good.
That's awesome.
I don't know what happened to her either, sadly.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you ever do that? You're up and you start like trying to figure out what people do. You look for them on Facebook, and then you don't see them.
On occasion, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find myself I don't do that frequently, but I still will stumble across folks or, like just these measuring sticks in life of like, oh, I wonder what that person's into or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
When people find out that you're in this work, what's your kind of go-to advice? Or when you get emails or someone is like, my friend Rebecca does that, you should talk to her. Pick her brain.
Oh.
What's your what's your go-to advice? What do you do?
What is my go-to advice? I say, well, it kind of depends where they're coming from. And I honestly don't get inundated too much, so I'm happy about that. And I try to help people, but I can tell people who are going to be like asking, they're just going to be, trying to get too much. Like, you got to do your homework.
Yeah.
You got to understand yourself what's happening. You can't just ask people for advice and expect to learn that way. So that's one of my pieces of advice is you got to do some work, and that will help you understand. But my favorite thing is actually a story I think I got from my buddy Joey Kamen on my show. And I asked him something like that, and it was, oh no, it wasn't Joey, it was another producer that is of a show that I haven't even released yet because I haven't had time to edit it. And he does a lot of video games and stuff. He goes, when people ask me and they're really not sure but they're told they have a good voice, what I tell them to do is go get the book called War and Peace and start reading it, and read it out loud, and read the first 100 pages. And if you're still interested after that, then keep reading the book, but also start doing some research and start looking up, what is voiceover and how can you have a career and what does it take? But when people just tell you have a good voice, that's not enough.
That's not enough.
You've got to have a lot of patience, and you've got to have some stamina, and you've got to have some capabilities about, quote unquote, reading out loud.
Right.
So go get your War and Peace for the first 100 pages. So that's become one of mine too.
That's great. Dude, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on the show and letting me be a part of your show.
Yeah, I think this was really, really fun because it was really just like this awesome conversation.
Yeah.
And, anytime you want to converse again, I was just even thinking while we were doing this, it's really nice to have the conversation with another true blood actor.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I totally agree.
I really enjoyed it. And we could always do something more in a different way. I would love that. Something live on Facebook or whatever.
That'd be awesome.
And invite people. Yeah, because just to chat about whatever we want. And these experiences.
I love it. I think people. I know I learn from it every time we have conversations like this, and I want to share this experience with people. So
it's really, really fun, and it's wonderful to be in the same space with you. Thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
Always, since we get to talk almost weekly, almost.
Right. Almost.
So I really enjoy it. I very much enjoy it. Namaste, my friend.
Namaste.
Thank you for having me, too.
You bet. Thank you so much. If you want to check out LoveThatRebecca.com is where you can find her. And Rebecca Haugh, you're awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
And it's Kif VH or Kif Vanden Heuvel. And you can look them up on Google. What's your main
My principal
place
web address
check
is check out allovervoiceover.com or kifvh.com will lead you there. I'm on Facebook and Twitter at KifVH. And lately I've been doing some crap on Musical.ly. It's fun.
Yay! All right, sir. Thank you so much. Love you.
Thank you. Love you too.
Ciao.
Take care. Peace.
Bye. Peace.
Thank you for joining us on All Over Voiceover with Kif VH. Please take a moment to review the show and let other folks know what you thought. And if you dug it, please subscribe. Follow the show on Twitter at AllOverVO and check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/AllOverVO with Kif VH. That's it for this time. You get what you get and don't get upset. Claim victory and depart the field.